Hello, it's me again. Now I'm going to do a video on UK politics, which is, I've certainly never gone anywhere near it before, I'm quite sure. I've never voted in my life, mainly because I've been an expat for 40 years, so I'm a bit stateless. I technically can vote in, I think, some elections in France, but don't know anything about it, so won't vote. Would I, because I haven't really ever paid my fair share of taxes to any European country, would I not vote because of that? I don't know. Anyway, I just don't vote. Not likely to vote either. But it doesn't stop me observing things. If I was ever to vote in the UK, I would think I would have voted Conservative, probably. There might have been a time where I would have voted for Tony Blair. I think I probably would have been wrong too, but I think I probably would. But my politics really doesn't matter, I don't think, because each person's individual little choice of politics is a drop in a bucket. I think for most people, a lot of other things are far more important. Right. I think I should say something about why I think I'd be Conservative, mainly because it was a Conservative family. You kind of brought up with that, so it's your default position. I appreciate the left-wing position on things, and I can see things from their point of view, and I think they're right about many things, but at base, I really don't think I'd trust many of them to be actually running things. Even when you look back at the Blair government, Blair was the front man and seemed reasonable and all that sort of stuff. But behind the scenes, Gordon Brown was up to no good. They weren't terrible, but for example, we're going to get on to the housing crisis. They were almost, not completely, because Thatcher obviously did the selling off of the council houses. The idea being, I think, that it was to get people captured into society, as in when you're a homeowner, you've got a mortgage, you're less likely to be uppity at work because you don't want to get the sack, because you want to keep your mortgage being paid so it keeps a roof over your head. And basically there was an awful lot, if you can remember back to the 70s, of people. It was a very us and them society. It was a very class society where there was the working class, the blue-collar worker, and there were white-collar workers, and obviously the toffs. But there was a real difference. Much, think back, or just compare it to now, there is not now that difference, because the working class, for various reasons, but I think Thatcher was right, she has got them out of their stuck position of looking towards local and central government to look after them in many positions. And now most everybody in the UK is expected to look after themselves first and foremost, and then there are safety nets. I know they're being eroded by austerity and all sorts of other things, but what we have with Labour is always a desire to move back to being more, we could say, using nice words, supportive of the lower end of the community. And Thatcher was basically cut their support away and make them move up into the community with everybody else. You could say what Thatcher did was cruel, but I think there was cruel to be kindness there. And obviously I am trying and summing up there Thatcher in a couple of sentences, which you can't do. And obviously I'm doing the same for Labour. But certainly looking at the very limited amount that I do look at the UK politics people, what a fucking shower. I mean, Corbyn, that MacDonald is the money man who comes out with the most incredible stuff, and Diane Abbott is about the only three I know, to tell the truth. I wouldn't trust them to run. Just think of something and I wouldn't trust them to run it. But you look at the Conservatives and again you think, what a shower. I think we can all agree that the standard of people that the people of the UK will be expected to vote for is not exactly what you might call high. But I think there's more depth in the Conservative Party, as in you look at the people at the top and you go, oh God, they're awful. They're not awful people like The Guardian says they are, but they just don't seem to be. They haven't got it. But I would think I would prefer to vote them in because they'll get knocked off the top, and the people that rise up might have a chance of doing something sensible. But with Labour, it looks very thin. You've got the three that I mentioned at the top, and who else is going to come through? Maybe it's my ignorance and I don't know them, but there seems even less depth in the Labour people. And the Labour people will always do this, if in doubt, spend other people's money. I know that's a cliche and it's a horrible cliche, but I'm doing UK politics from Thatcher to now in what might be a bit of an extensive video, but it's a very small video. And if you read what Corbyn, just every now and then, it was just yesterday, it was about renationalising something or other, and the way was put out by MacDonald how it wouldn't cost any money. And the word is unrealistic, basically. The castle, the government, could do it. They could just appropriate. They could just take whatever they like. They're in charge. They can change the law and do what they want to. But the country must live within. The people outside look to the castle, not just on accounting for banking and whatever, accounting for other things, but for responsibility, and they are meant to take the lead. And I just wouldn't like the Labour people taking the lead, because I think they'd have to twist things so much to get the things done that they want to get done, which are very nice things. They want to do an awful lot of good things. No, they're not good things. They're nice things, because although they would be good, they're nice, certainly. They'd only be good if it could be done in a reasonable way that didn't twist things. And I basically can't see how they can do it. So at a push, I would prefer to trust the Conservatives again, although they seem utterly horrible, as opposed to trusting Labour, who seem utterly dangerous. Okay. But please try and forget all that. I just thought I'd be trying to be upfront about politics, what could be considered my politics, but it's much better to think that I really don't have any, because when push comes to shove, really I don't. Okay. What I wanted to... Okay, that preamble was 10 minutes, so I thought it might go on a bit. So the problem we've got for Mrs. May or whoever's in charge is that the young and quite a lot of the middle classes are going to be disaffected. Certainly the chunk that can't do this horrible thing which is called get on the housing ladder. It's a horrible expression, but it's taken over as the main meme of the moment. Getting on the housing ladder has been for a long time, and it will be soon. A lot of disgruntled people that they can't get on the housing ladder, and a lot of disgruntled parents and grandparents that know that they have to help their sons and grandsons, daughters, whatever, to get on the housing ladder. They're not happy about it. Not that they're not happy that they have to spend their hard-earned money. It's just that they know that they're being unfair by preferencing their children to do it. And they know that it's wrong, and they know that the system shouldn't be like that, that they have to do something that they know to be wrong. So they're disaffected in that way. So what I'm saying is that the Conservatives will struggle in any general election. And I thought, well, what they would have to do is get the young, throw them a bone. So first of all, I thought marijuana. But I believe that May used to be Home Secretary and was pretty hard on marijuana, and she would have to do a U-bend on that one, and I can't see that she will, so that is out. The next one is university fees, secondary education fees. It's a very odd one, this, because I could only see this secondary education, making people pay for their secondary education at a certain income level is only worth doing if it is to get you control of the secondary or tertiary education, what do you call it, the university education system. As in, the people that go to university, this whole debt thing is a very, very, again, it's about that, like the housing ladder, it's a meme, and it's called debt, but it isn't really. It's an extra tax. It's a surtax, or it's an extra tax that you have to pay if you earn a certain level. But the people that earn certain levels already pay the extra taxes anyway. That's what the tax system is. If you don't earn a certain level, you don't pay the taxes. If you earn a lot, then you do pay the taxes. So now you go to university, you get paid a lot, you pay the extra taxes and an extra tax. The whole thing seems strange unless there was a point to it. And I can think, for my thinking, the only real point to it would be if you got control over the levers of the education, university education system, as in if you wanted to encourage people to do this STEM stuff or do doctor and lawyer stuff, what we know we can call safely the really useful stuff. You can say, well, we won't charge the extra tax on those. But if you want to do flower arranging or pop music management or something, then you will have to pay the taxes. In other words, you could use it as a leverage bar to shift people one way or the other, because that's what generally taxes are all about. It's not just about raising money, it's to try and move people to, like car tax, petrol, fuel tax is to try and stop people using their cars. If you want to put it up, cigarettes, etc., and things like that. It can be used constructively. At the moment, this whole thing for university students, with Blair wanting 50% of the young going into university, it's a huge problem because so many now do go to university and have what is called this huge debt hanging over them, which really isn't a debt hanging over them. It's something else, but it will cut in to certain people and they will have to pay it back, and probably at a time of life where they'd really rather not be paying it extra taxes. So can May do anything about this? I don't think she can, because what can you do? I think they've just sold the debts, the gathering of it to private industry. I think it's not something then you can just go, oh well, we'll have to compensate them in some way and just scrap the whole thing. It's just not the way governments work. So she can't do marijuana. She can't do the university charges. What can she do? It seems the only next thing, which is big enough, would be something on housing. But it seems that, if I'm getting this right, housing has been kind of, because it's such a huge problem, it's been shuffled over to the Chancellor of the Exchequer to do little bits on the side. And the Chancellor of the Exchequer does little bits on the side. There will be a reasonable slap for buy-to-let landlords coming in, well, certainly in the next couple of years. And otherwise they just do the help to buy sort of things for first-time buyers, which it helps here and hinders here. You know, the problem isn't ameliorated the big problem isn't helped at all. Basically, I think she's stuffed, and from where I am, I don't think enough people would protest vote to vote for Corbyn. But bloody hell, imagine if they do. It'd be interesting. It'd make for, it's a bit like Trump. I mean, lots of things to moan and complain about. It'd make good television, as it were. It's good entertainment. But what the hell would he get up to? The thing is, I'll reiterate, and why I seem to be down on Corbyn, and although I recognise that May and company are a absolute shower, I prefer them to Corbyn, who I started yesterday spelling with a K, and I really quite like the look of it, and so we'll probably continue to. The only way of doing it here is to have a word with the accountants and say, let's do some creative accounting here. I don't think Corbyn would even do much taxing of the rich. I think they even can appreciate it's really not worth it. Yes, taxes for the richer end would be put up, but it really wouldn't raise much money at all. And they would be having this opportunity of a real Labour government coming in. They would be keen to do an awful lot of spending. I just can't imagine where they can possibly get the money from without having a word with the accountants. And because I've kept more of an eye on McDonnell than I have on Corbyn, and he's got some strange ideas about what you can do with accounting. He's actually got some MMT ideas sometimes, but he's very inconsistent in what he says. But you can just imagine how much money they'd want to be spending. And I just dread to think how they think they're going to get it. And it all comes back to the whole reasoning, and the reasoning I'm making this video. It will come back to accounting, because the normal ways of raising enough tax or floating enough government debt will not be easily available to a new Labour government. So something will have to give. And as people have noted in the comments, trust is a great thing when it comes to being a human being. And me, from my safe house here in France, do not trust the Labour government type people, and only marginally trust the Conservative type government more. It's a big problem that the quality of people in government is so poor at the moment, and that seems to be across the board in the Western world, which is have a go in comments to explain why it might be. You pick a country and try and, I won't go on Germany and other places, but it's a moving thing, and I'm sure they will arrive somewhere, but we just seem to be at a very low ebb in the quality of politicians at the moment. Okay, leave it there. Bye.